The first time that I laid eyes on the buck that would be known as the Waterhole buck was August 8th, 2012. I know you all can put yourself in this position. When you get pictures of a deer like that, it's hard to beat that feeling. The Waterhole buck spent a lot of August on our property, and then I got this picture of him on September 17th, and it's funny looking back because he is headed out across this point towards the neighbor's property, and I really don't think that he returned for the rest of 2012. This is really where I think the story gets good, because we are a group of landowners, 14 different landowners, that covers 2,500 acres, and the Waterhole buck ended up being visible to almost every single landowner on this 2,500 acres over the next few years. The cool thing is, every single landowner in the group has their own story of the Waterhole buck, some more detailed than others. If we put all those stories together, we could sit here for hours and hours. In the summer of 2013, now I'm looking forward to getting some summer pictures of this deer again. My neighbor sends me one of those pictures that you get and you're just like, after this incredible summer picture of him on the Waterhole, he became a ghost. Nobody saw him. In the fall, this is the fall of 2013, so early archery season, firearm season, we did not see him. We actually got a couple pictures of him in November. One was on November 26th. It was Monday of the rifle season in Wisconsin, and he walks 30 yards from one of my tree stands. In daylight, like a half hour before dark. I was in that stand the previous night, 24 hours earlier. Now the Waterhole buck had made it through early archery season, gun season, muzzleloader season as a 5.5-year-old buck. We got together in between Christmas and New Year's in 2013 with our neighbors to do some late season bow drives. And my dad had the Waterhole buck run by him on a dead sprint at about 20 yards with his bow. Didn't shoot, thank goodness, but I believe he was the only person to actually visually see the Waterhole buck in 2013.
He's really big, geez.
Oh my God. I'm filming him right now.
Over 2 years, and this was my first time laying eyes on the Waterhole buck, and he was huge.
Well, if that ain't Waterhole, it's a pretty doggone big deer. Whatever it is.
For whatever reason, in 2014, as a 6.5-year-old, this deer became much more visible. And this is where the ride gets wild for almost everyone. There were several opportunities, just like things had to go a little bit different, and somebody would have taken the Waterhole buck.
I could just get a clean look at him. You should text Greg.
Greg.
Moose. Down Waterholes. 200 yards from his truck.
Part of that field was standing corn that fall, and in the middle of November, we got some great trail camera photos of him, of course, about 25 yards from where we were sitting in the tree, where you just saw us film him. Opening day of the rifle season 2014. You know, basically every hunter in the river bottoms is set up for the Waterhole buck, you know, wherever they can be on their property. So I'm set up in what I think is the best funnel. I don't think he's on my property, so I'm just set up on this funnel for him to come into my property in case he gets bumped, you know, because there's a lot of hunters in the woods on opening day of the rifle season in Wisconsin. So I was having just a phenomenal day. Great deer movement. 2 o'clock. To the east of me, and I mean loud. Bang! 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 Couple seconds go by. Here I see running down the funnel is the Waterhole buck. And he's got kickers off of his G2 on each side. He's probably close to 190 inches. He comes running down through the funnel, and I'm sitting about 40 yards from my neighbor's fence line. All he needs to do is come a little bit south. There's great trails that come a little bit south, and he just needs to cross the fence onto my property. He comes down straight north of me, about 25 yards on the other side of my neighbor's fence, and stops. He stops broadside, wide open, at 65 yards. I have a 30-06 in my hand. I can't shoot because he's on my neighbor's property. He stopped briefly, probably 5 seconds he stopped for, and he got away. The next day, so Sunday of the gun season, I set up a little bit to the west on the property in the direction that the Waterhole buck had gone the day before. And when I got in the stand, I could see on the ground where the leaves and the dirt was absolutely just hammered, kicked up, running from east to west right underneath this stand. We were supposed to have a guy in this stand the day before. It was clear that the Waterhole buck had run right underneath this stand. The reason that the guy didn't make it is because he got caught up in the camaraderie of deer camp. I got one picture of him later in the week on the last weekend of gun season, and that was it for the Waterhole buck in 2014. Summer of 2015, nobody has pictures of the Waterhole buck. We are wondering if this deer is still alive. He would now be 7.5. It was a tough winter, 14 to 15. No pictures until the opening day of the archery season in September. Opening morning, there he is. November 1st, 2015, I'm the cameraman. I'm taking my cousin out hunting, and we're going to the tree on that funnel where I had the Waterhole buck run by me the year before. The morning was on fire right away, and you could tell there was a hot doe in the area, and about 9 o'clock, the Waterhole buck showed up.
She's running back this way now. God. Take some deep breaths, Sean.
After seeing him in the morning, he ended up bedding down with a doe about 200 yards from us. I decided to get down and make a move around him to the west. Man, I wish I would have stayed with the camera with my cousin in the tree, because the Waterhole buck ended up coming within 75 yards and was within 75 yards of my cousin for about an hour. Which brings us to opening weekend of the 2015 gun season. Opening Sunday in the afternoon. My neighbors to the east of me, they have this big swamp, and they usually make a drive one time per year. I found out later that this is what had happened the year before. They made that drive on opening day. The guy shot at the Waterhole buck 5 times. The buck ran by him at 30 yards, and he missed 5 shots. And that's when he came by me, and I had to pass him because he was on the other side of the fence. Well, they made the same drive now in 2015. This time, the landowner's son, young kid, probably 15 years old at the time, sat in that tree. The Waterhole buck basically did the same thing, ran right up to him, and the kid did not miss. Man, it is always way too abrupt when these stories end. Sometimes I think it's better to have these deer alive than dead. But we were so fortunate as a landowner group to chase this buck for as long as we did, from 2012 to 2015. Congratulations to the kid who was able to harvest this buck. Just a buck of a lifetime. Unreal. So many great stories get made, memories get made every year. This was a really fun one to look back on. And hey, as long as we keep hunting, we'll keep making the memories. That's all, folks. See you next time.